Hi, my name is Haley, and today I will be talking to you about phytotoxicity and natural compounds. So, what is phytotoxicity? In general terms, it is simply plant damage from something that the plant was exposed to. This damage can be caused by trace metals, pesticides, allelochemicals, hallucinogens, fatal toxins, and biopesticides. They are all natural compounds that have varying toxic effects. Phytotoxicity can also be caused by varying types of insects, for example, beetles, grasshoppers, aphids, and even caterpillars, but there are many more. So, phytotoxic compounds, what are they? Well, they are substances that are poisonous or toxic to the growth of plants. They can come from herbicides, or they can even be produced by the plants themselves. If they are being produced by the plants, it would be by microorganisms or simply by naturally occurring chemical reactions. Phytotoxins are secondary metabolites like terpenes, alkaloids, and phenolics. As well, microbes are also phytotoxins. Here are some examples. So, the fungus Gibberella fujikiroi is a diterpene that can be synthesized to give gibberellic acid. It is a fungal plant pathogen that can cause Bacchinae disease in rice seedlings. As well, it is used to increase alpha amylase production in beer. And a really cool thing it can do is that it is used for growing seedless grapes. Another example is Ophiobolin A, which is a fungal metabolite and a phytotoxin that is naturally produced by a pathogenic fungus to attack plant cells. They are produced by Bipolaris, Aspergillus, Sarcoladium, and Drosclera fungi. Ophiobolin A is a cis-terpene that is used for its growth inhibitory activity in both plant and mammalian cells. What's really cool about Ophiobolin A is that it has potential to kill cancer cells in humans, but most commonly it usually just infects rice, maize, and sorghum, which will hurt humans if ingested or consumed. Another really cool example is the red clover. It is primarily used for hay, pasture, and soil improvement. So it's normally used as high-quality forage on farms for the farm animals. The toxin associated with red clovers, though, is slephremine, and is produced by the fungus Rhizoctonia leguminicola and grows on the clover. Therefore, that's what makes red clovers toxic. Red clovers on their own aren't, but as soon as this fungus grows on it, then it becomes deadly. Slephremine will only grow on the red clover when it is humid or there is a drought, and is usually only attracted to red clovers. It doesn't normally grow on many other plants. A really interesting thing about this toxin is that it is an indolizidine alkaloid that becomes activated in the liver and acts as a parasympathomimetic to be able to stimulate the salivary glands, so when it is ingested. So an example is if a horse was to ingest it, it would cause the horse to profusely salivate, generally speaking, meaning that it would secrete large amounts of saliva. If you wanted to stop this from happening, it can be blocked by the drug atropine. Another example is the bracken fern. It produces carcinogenic puticulocide. This is an unstable glucoside that contains a reactive cyclopropane ring and is isolated from the fern. It is a very, very, very potent phytotoxic natural compound. So, this hydrolysis of the puticulocide leads to pterosins, which is believed to be the primary carcinogen that is obtained. This phytotoxin can also cause intestinal carcinomas in cows and can cause several other problems and diseases in farm animals if ingested, which happens a lot because these plants grow where farm animals usually forage. Another example is the Hypolepis punctata, which is another type of fern. It can be synthesized to give hypochrone. This phytotoxin is a sesquiterpene that contains a reactive cyclopropene ring and is used in medicine and pharmaceuticals as it has many anti-tumor properties. Another really cool example is morphine, which is a phytotoxic compound that can be synthesized from poppy plants. Morphine is used to relieve moderate to severe pain and is an alkaloid and under the class of drugs called opioids. The problem with morphine is that it is highly addictive and a common street drug, and usually in hospitals is used as a pain relief, so people who are addicts aren't able to get that pain relief if they're hurt. Another example is epihedrine, which is a medication/stimulant and is a non-catecholamine sympathomimetic drug. It is found in the Epihedra sinica plant and is commonly used to prevent low blood pressure during spinal anesthesia. It is also used for narcolepsy and obesity, but is not usually the preferred treatment, as there are better and safer treatments out there, and is mostly used when there are allergies to the other medications and there are no other options. What's really cool about epihedrine is how many different isomers it has, but the isomer 1s2r plus epihedrine is the most toxic and not found in drugs as it is a potentially hazardous contaminant. However, there's not a lot of research done, so we don't know how toxic it really can be. Another example is amygdalin. It is a substance that releases cyanide into the bloodstream. It is derived from apple seeds, and usually in small amounts, so not enough to cause harm. However, if you wanted to, a human would have to consume between 150 to thousands of apple seeds that are crushed to cause cyanide poisoning, or in some cases, sudden death. Another example is catechol. It is a phenolic compound derived from Senecalia catechu. It is used in the production of pesticides and is also found in perfumes and other pharmaceuticals. It is a common building block in organic synthesis. So considering all of these examples, how do we synthesize these phytotoxins? Well, they can be synthesized from plants by their microorganisms, and these metabolites can be synthesized in many ways, usually through condensation reactions or hydrolysis. But let's see how two of them can be synthesized. Amygdalin can easily be synthesized by simply immersing it into a methanol solution followed by ultrasonication. Then you reflux the reaction with an extraction into water with citric acid to remove amygdalin from the apple seeds. There are multiple ways to synthesize amygdalin, however, a good example is below. You can use this compound and pyridine trifluoroacetic anhydride in a 1,4-doxane solution at 20 degrees Celsius for 2 hours to be able to synthesize a good yield of amygdalin. Another example is epihedrine. It is synthesized, like I said before, from the ephedra plant. It can be prepared via the reductive amination of phenylacetyl-carbinol, but can also be prepared by reacting diethylamine, palladium diacetate, trisodium tri-3-sulfophenyl phosphate in water for 25 minutes at an ambient temperature. And the greatest part about this reaction is it can give you 100% yield. So, considering all of the information, what actually causes phytotoxicity? So, phytotoxicity is usually caused by the misuse or misapplication of pesticides on plants. Most commonly are fungicides and insecticides. But it is useful to think about phytotoxicity as an injury from something that we, as humans, have done as a manager of plants. So, for example, thinking about water properties and how, over the years, we have damaged water by polluting it, which can potentially cause damage to the plants that are accessing that water source. Another example is pH. pH is a factor that can influence plant growth and usually comes from infected soil. So it happens if the pH is too low or too high. Most plants will thrive in a slightly acidic soil because that pH allows them to get good nutrients from the soil. However, plants can be poisoned by pH if it is too low, It will liberate aluminum, which stunts the root growth of the plant and can also interfere with the plant's uptake of nutrients. Considering that, think about pollutants in soil, not only from garbage, but also the acidic rain in some areas in Canada. Urea is a common example, as it is used as a nitrogenous fertilizer, but if too much is used, it will cause soil urease. So on the right, you can see how pH affects the plants, and below you can see how fungicides and insecticides can harm the plant by usually causing spotting and vein removal on the plants, and it can even completely remove the chlorophyll from the cells of the plant wall, causing the whitening that you see on the right. So how can we tell if our plants at home, or any plant really, has been affected by a phytotoxin? Usually the plants will have leaf spotting and have scorched or dead tissues. This is commonly confused with insect or mite damage and other common diseases. A really common disease is phytotoxemia, which is the reaction of a plant to a chemical toxin introduced by insect feeding, which would be a phytotoxic effect on the plant, not from the plant. So it's not the same as if a caterpillar would be feeding off of one of its leaves, as that would just simply be a threat to the plant. Phytotoxemia can be small lesions of discolored or dead tissues of the leaves of the plant, causing the curling of the leaves that you can see in the middle where they cup. Usually it will occur with plants that carry phytotoxic compounds when they go to eat it, like aphids, which is the little white bugs you can find in your plants. Usually if you were to get a plant from someplace that's not a nursery, you'll usually find those bugs. But another example, what we previously talked about, is fungicide spray. You can see the speckling occurring. And on the right, the brown necrotic spots from plant growth regulators, and usually that occurs from bad soil. So, how do you treat phytotoxicity? If it is just affecting a small area of the plant, it may involve simply cutting off the infected area of the stem of the plant to prevent further damage and to prevent it from interfering with the rest of the plant. Usually, though, just watering your plant and maintaining general care can usually help save the plant over time and help prevent the chance of permanent injury. So you can see on the right the period of which a plant will go through if you're able to quickly get rid of the phytotoxic effect and eliminate those leaves so that the plant can stay healthy. Some interesting facts about phytotoxins and phytotoxicity is that scientists are creating new organic herbicides as there are many strong natural phytotoxins with new modes of actions. This is needed because plants are rapidly evolving to resist commercial herbicides. What's also cool is that most research done on phytotoxins and conducted on plants' ability for pharmaceuticals. However, there is not much research outside of that realm. Phytotoxic means that something is harmful or undesirable. However, phytotoxins have very beneficial roles in the pharmaceutical industry, and most of our drugs come from plants that secrete phytotoxins. And what's really cool is that nature uses phytotoxicity to maintain an ecological balance. And then just something super interesting is that a recipe for disaster is high temperature and putting a fungicide or a pesticide on a plant, because it will just destroy it. It causes stress stages during germination and flowering. And that's it. So thank you so much. And this is my cat Evie. Just thought I would share.